So CrossFit is, this is what we're doing. I know that seems really basic, but that's what we're doing. And it's constantly very high intensity functional movement. That's why we're here. And I think the easiest way to start about this is go backwards and just deal with functional movement. The ongoing joke is that really everybody does CrossFit. They just don't know it. And I really believe in that, because the idea here is we put things on the ground, we pick them up, we sit down, we stand up, we take our body a certain distance in the world. These are things we do every day. We put things overhead, we push off the ground, we pull off the ground. We get up on top of something. These are things that life asks of us, and people do. They just might not be doing it very good. And so we want to come into a safe environment, put ourselves in positions, and actually get some feedback. Does this look like it's safe? Is this why I always feel this pain? That's what we've seen to be really healthy. There's been a lot of questions before why we don't do like bicep curls or bench press, some of those things. The reason is what we're always looking at in CrossFit is multi-joint. So we don't want to do those isolation movements quite as much. We want to do multi-joint and what actually engages our midline. So most of the movements we have starts here and then is a multi-joint movement, like a squat, a deadlift, a pull-up, engage the core, use the shoulder and the elbow for the pull. So that's what we do, is functional movements that are multi-joint and complex motor patterns. And that'll make sense when we get a little further here. But high intensity, this is not sweating or grunting or screaming or flopping around, doing crazy things, looking like we're really intense. This is an equation is all it is. And it's power is force times distance over time. And this for us is something we can actually quantify and track performance improvement. And that's why we use Wodify. We put everything in there, and then we can look over a list. I was looking at mine today. How have I improved this year? So I've looked at all my PRs, my personal records, and it's cool to see that I've improved in a lot of ways. So one of them being a mile run. I can say the distance is a mile, the force is my body weight, so that's the mass that I'm moving throughout this world. And then time, we can track, did I run it faster? And then deadlift as well would be another way we could look at this and say the force is actually the weight on the bar. So this is 315 pounds. The distance is pretty static for most people because you're not going to grow anymore. So it's just from here to lockout, usually like 2 foot or so. And then time is how fast can I lift that weight? And prospectively, if we look at this and say, let's say this was my 1 rep max, like that's the heaviest, that lift might take me 2 to 3 seconds to get up, like real slow, like, oh, I got it. And then let's say this is only 50% of my 1 rep, I'm gonna pull it like that. So my power output changes based on what percentage of my 1 rep this would be, but we can track that as well. And for us, a lot of times we just take that out, work capacity becomes something we would focus on, and say, can I move more weight over that movement distance? So that's another way to look at it. But constantly varied. This is we're always doing different things, and I'm sure you've experienced that already just coming the times you have, that the workout is very different. To let you a little bit behind the veil, what we focus on in CrossFit is these 3 components. So you have gymnastics, weightlifting, and monostructural movement. And so this is anything with your body weight. This is any external object that you're moving, a kettlebell, a wall ball, a bar, those type of things. And then monostructural movements is like a repetitious single pattern where, yeah, pretty much all those, like biking, swimming, rowing, running. Yep. I like to put double unders in there. A lot of times it'll show up in gymnastics as well. And then I'll put burpees in there sometimes as well. It's kind of like a gymnastics monostructural because you're just doing the same thing over and over. Right. But I think those are duals. But it is constantly varied. And so the way we think in programming, a lot of times, other than Monday was all pushing, but a lot of times we focus on pushing and pulling. We're trying to create a symmetry and an arc between the two. So like we might do a workout that's 15 push-ups. That's a gymnastics movement. Then we go to a pulling movement with a weight and do like 10 deadlifts and just cycle that back and forth. So gymnastics, weightlifting, pushing and pulling. And that's kind of how we think. But that's like behind the veil stuff. Where people don't even know it, but I think it is important to hear it. Like, oh, it makes so much sense. Like we're trying to balance the body out front and back and be able to have that movement in a lot of different ways here. So that's CrossFit. What we're doing here at Artistic CrossFit is we're trying to show skill or excellence in execution. And I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but I talk about it quite a bit, is if we can put you in a good position, that's our main focus. And the reason is threefold. First, we start with our skeleton. So can my joints, do they have good range of motion? That's the starting point. can my joint get there? We have a lot of people will say wrists or ankles especially, those are the main ones. Man, I can't get into that front rack, it hurts. What they're saying is, I have really bad range of motion in my wrist. That's what they're saying. Same thing when you put them on the ground, or if we're doing like a couch stretch where your foot's behind on the wall, they're like, it just hurts my ankle. What they're saying is, I have really bad range of motion in my ankle. So we start there, get them in a good position, let their joints move freely. The second piece is muscular. So do I have actually muscle support around my joints? So what we want to do is have really good joints movement. We want to have muscle support so that those joints have protection. And then the last one is your nervous system. And have you ever been to the chiropractor? Okay. So a chiropractor's job, what they try to do is set your joint into a position so that a couple things can happen. You have good motor control. There's signals coming from the brain out to the extremity so you can move really well. And then the second one is to apply force on something. So I don't know if you ever had the assessment where they'll go, people in our culture in America are really internally rotated with their shoulder. Yeah. And so what they'll do is they'll say, okay, apply force against my hand. It's usually really weak. And then they'll pop your shoulder in place and they say, do it again, and it's really strong. That's a simple way to show you're actually blocking the signal from your brain out to your extremity to apply force on something. So what we want to do here is actually put you in a good position, joint-wise, muscle-wise. You become your own chiropractor in a lot of ways. And that way your nerve bundles in that system, the signal that's coming from the brain out can function. This is really funny, kind of weird, but doing this is really hard for people. Like having the motor control out to the foot to touch something very lightly is very challenging for people because it's the furthest thing away from the brain. And so what they have is in their hips, they have this breakdown and shifting. So that's our part, is work with the skeleton first, get you good range of motion. Can I touch my toes? Can I put my hand over my head? Can I do simple taps? Can I pull my knee up past parallel? Stuff like that. We start there, start building muscle around it, and then we start letting those joints be free to actually express themselves and not be restricted and apply force. So, but motor control stuff. This point gets back to here. So what we're trying to do in this area and through this means is we're trying to increase your work capacity over broad time and modal domains. And so work is really nothing more than this section of the equation, your force times distance. And so what we're looking at is time domains, and maybe you've done this where we've done like a 3 to 5 minute workout. Mondays was a 20-minute workout. Today's should probably be somewhere between like 7 to 12 minutes, I would think. And then we did a 10K row recently where that was like 38 to 60 minutes long. And this is just the idea, and everywhere in between, I'm sure you've seen that, but this is the idea. We're trying to figure out, where am I really good? And can I get even better? And then where do I really suck? And can I get even better? And so for me, I suck here. This is where I die. It feels like someone straps a weight on my back, and I'm like trudging through mud like this. And this section, I can just kill it. You put me in that, I will go all out until I'm face on the floor. And but that's where I excel. So for you, we've already seen your cardio is really good. Like you have great aerobic endurance. And for you, we would say, okay, let's not change that. Let's like play on that and build around that and find some stuff that's really hard. Maybe it's not a time domain as much as a movement. So if we can find movements that we need to improve on, well then there we can dive in and say, okay, she's really good at repetitious aerobic movement. How do we use that to our advantage and apply it in other areas? So like I think if we got you a really clean squat and efficient, you probably do really well at a thing called Tabata squats. I don't know if you've ever done that cycle. So it's what you do is a 20 seconds of work and then a 10-second rest. And you do it for 8 rounds. I think because of your endurance though, that wouldn't be a respiratory tax. It would allow you to do something, what we're trying to do, and we'll talk about it here, but in that lactic threshold where you're playing in that glycolytic metabolic pathway, for us, that you could use your respiratory endurance, because most people actually burn out because they can't breathe when they do it. They're like, I'm dying. So they never actually get to go into that glycolytic stage because they can't breathe. But for you, you can use that to your advantage and say, okay, now just go in, feel the burn, like get into it. And that'd be really cool to watch. So everybody has strengths, you want to play on those, improve their weaknesses, and let it all rise together. So that's that section. And then right here, I love this part, this is so good. Mark added one, so I'll add it for you. And he said mental is down here. And I think he's right, and I would agree with him. This is our hierarchy of focus. We want to grow in this way. So the most important thing would be at the bottom. We've actually had people come in here 1, 2, 3 days and say to me verbatim, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this. What they've done is they've defeated themselves mentally. And what happens is that carries over to life. It really does. Like, I can't do this hard thing at my job, so I'm never going to get a promotion. I can't stick it out and, my kid, he's always disobedient, now I just want to, or I can't, whatever they are, people do this all the time. And the ones who are mentally strong and say, I think I can do it, those are the ones who will excel in this program. And it's so cool to hang around people like that, because you start to find that, wow, I can do things I never thought I could. And it's so fun to watch. Like, we had one lady do an L sit when she was like, I don't think I can do it. I was like, well, let's just try. And she did it for like 13 seconds. It was like really impressive. We had a 60-year-old lady climb a rope who's never climbed a rope. It's like, those things get really exciting. So the second piece is nutrition, and I'm going to call it one, but this is fuel. This is giving your body what it needs to be able to kind of function well. So that's water, nutrients, and food, and all that. So the second piece would be metabolic conditioning, and I like to look at this as the ability to keep moving. And so there's a couple things we have. We focus on 3 main metabolic pathways in CrossFit, one of them being aerobic. You're doing low intensity for a long period of time. Today's WOD is an aerobic WOD. It might not feel low intensity, it's gonna feel pretty intense. But prospectively to like a 100-meter sprint or a 500-meter row or a 1,000-meter row, it's lower intensity. So you can't go at the same pace that you would on those ones. So the aerobic, and then you have the glycolytic, which we talked about, where you're doing moderate intensity for a moderate amount of time, is what you're doing. And then the last one is your phosphocreatine, which is when you see these type of things where it's like a strength day, you come and do 5 lifts and you're gone, but you're doing high intensity for a really short amount of time, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. And for life, my mom, when I was 7 or 8, she actually saved me from drowning. I fell in between my grandparents' boat, and she jumped in without question, tread water, and grabbed me and threw me on the boat. So that was that mode right there. It's like, I'm gonna rip him out in a second and save his life, and she did. The second one, where you're in that glycolytic moderate for moderate amount of time, I would say if we ever get mugged in the street, you're going to be in that mode. It's not going to be a one-punch wonder. You're not going to knock them out and be like, all right, I'm walking away, fine. It's not going to be, hey, can we take it easy, go for like, a little bit, go for a while, and no, it's going to be, we're having a skirmish, I might outlast you, and I push you down and I run away, or I get to do it and they run away, because like, I don't want to deal with this. And that's what I think we're preparing for in here sometimes. We don't know what life's going to ask of us. It might be for a farmer doing the chores. It might be us doing housework. We're going to be able to keep moving for a minute and a half, 2 minutes to bring in groceries, whatever that is. And then the last one is aerobic. This happens to me sometimes, run out of gas, and then I'm running to the gas station for 12 minutes, and I've done that. So that's aerobic capacity. It's like, all right, I'll be back in 12 minutes, babe, and with some gas. So that's just the ability to keep moving. Gymnastics is controlling your body. So this is, do I know where I'm at in space? Can I control my body and move well? And then the fourth one, this is something that I think is so important to talk about because I've seen it a lot, is weightlifting. And this is the ability to control external objects. This is what our lives look like a lot of times. I have a backpack that I put on my back, and I have laundry I have to bring up and downstairs. I have groceries, dog food, whatever it be, picking up my shoe and putting it on the table, getting it untied. We had someone talk about it this morning. They were talking to a lady, and her husband injured his back picking up his shoe. It's really sad, and he's not even that old. And but the reasoning, I think, why people hurt themselves on basic menial tasks are they've not gone through this hierarchy of building. They're dehydrated, they don't have proper fuel, so they start here and they're already cramping. If they try to bring their groceries in, they're cramping up in the forearm. It's like, this is getting hard. And then they go into this one, they don't even have the ability to keep moving, so what they start doing is they're straining their muscles. They're like this. They're bringing groceries like this, like shrugging up, and they don't even know that they're doing it because they don't know how to control their body, so they don't know that they're in a weird position. And then they go into injury, and they injure themselves on very basic things. Where for us, we've picked up a lot of things, so holding a dresser downstairs is like nothing, even though it might weigh 120 pounds, spread the load, 60 pounds to me is like nothing. So I don't even think about it anymore. But for people, that becomes a very hard task that they actually can turn themselves on, and they do a lot, in fact. So that's what we're thinking about when we're here, is start here, move up this, and then sport is just expressing yourself to the world and just show how awesome you are. That's our goal. Is like people can see, wow, something is up with that person. When they come over and help me move, how can they do so many boxes and go back and forth and never tire? I just had someone say that to me, they're like, oh, the strong guy's here, he's gonna move all the boxes. And it's like, for me, I don't even breathe heavy, I'm not even getting tired, I'm just there going back and forth. But it's because it's so easy compared to what we put ourselves through in here, and we know it's really nothing compared to all this, you know? So I think that's the heart.